Hi there. Today's video is on the spiritual attribute of prudence. Don't know how common that word is in today's society, but for those who don't know, prudence is a wise caution. So a prudent person is somebody who has learned by past experiences. And so they make prudent choices in their life. So they don't, I'm not saying they're never spontaneous, because that would make life very dull, wouldn't it? But when it comes to the really important things in life, if they're going to take a risk, it's a calculated risk. A prudent person takes calculated risks if they're going to take risks. So it's being aware of your situation, what you can realistically achieve, the parameters that you need to work within, like we might call them limitations, being aware of their limitations. Quite often in today's society, people will say, oh, don't let anything limit you. Don't let anything limit you. Don't let anything limit you. You're just holding yourself back. Don't let anything limit you. On one hand, that's good, because a lot of people limit themselves unnecessarily, and that's not prudence. Okay, a prudent person does not limit themselves unnecessarily. A prudent person is aware of when they have to respect limits, that things are not going to work if they fight against limits that they've identified. A prudent person may do everything they possibly can to work around those limits, to remove those limits. And if they can't, then they wisely accept, okay, this is the parameters in which I will work. So when it comes to prudence as a spiritual attribute, what do we really mean? Well, we mean that we read spiritual information that's available to us with a question mark above it. It hasn't proved itself to us yet. We're prudent. Certainly, some people actually have to be caught out. In other words, taking something at face value. It's on the internet. It's in this book. It must be true. And they follow through with it. They believe it. They act on it. They make life choices based on it, and then find that it has led them astray. Then hopefully they will gain some prudence from that, in that, oh, I should have checked this out. I should have listened to those little voices in my head that were saying, oh, this seems a little bit off in that area. Oh, look at what that person's doing in their personal life. Are you really going to trust what they have to say? And I'm not saying that we're being judgmental here about this other person, but what people do and say in their daily life should mesh or meld nicely with what they do in their spiritual part of their life. So if they're talking about certain principles spiritually, but they're showing in their spiritual life, in their daily life, that they're not following those principles, or they're disrespecting them, they're doing something that feels, you can see it seems to be in conflict with it. Okay, well, that lets you know that, oh, okay, maybe what they're saying here is true, is right. They're just not following it. They're not walking their talk, but their talk might be fine. Or maybe their talk lacks substance, and it's not prudent for me to start making life decisions based on this. So this is sort of what I'm getting at when it comes to prudence, as far as that goes. So whatever you do, and that includes listening to me, okay? A prudent person listening to me will not necessarily believe everything I say. They may, because it resonates with them, okay? But you still should question, okay? The things that I'm talking about with the spiritual attributes, you should still question. Why has she said that? Is that really true? And in fact, if you do that, you might actually come up with some things that I haven't said that are just as valid, or if not more valid than what I've said. You might expand on what I've said and get something that's even better, for want of a better word. Okay? So the prudent spiritual person doesn't just embrace everything that's fashionable in the new age. They have it go by the test of time. They factor in the integrity of the person who is sharing this or writing this. Sometimes you can't always see that person's integrity. Maybe the words themselves could be very, like, of a high vibration at one point, but then something goes off that feels like it's gone into a lower vibration. Well, the prudent person, if they've recognised that, they'll stick with, well, that of the higher vibration, I resonate to. But this other that they're saying, that doesn't sit right. So it doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they used to say. I don't know if they still say that anymore. But you can accept what you felt was of a higher vibration without having to accept what you felt was a lower vibration from what that person said. Now, I'm just using this higher vibration, lower vibration example as a way of expressing it. I'm sure you can probably find some other ways, but you get what I mean. Somebody is delivering a whole, aspects of it really jump out to you, and they really seem pure. They really make sense. They actually perhaps uplift you spiritually. And then there'll be another part that just grates. It might not grate with somebody else, but it grates with you. Now, you're the one you've got to think about here. This is your spiritual journey. If it grates with you, then that bit probably isn't for you. Whether it's right or wrong, we're not saying. It's just not right for you at that time. But the other is. Further down the path, you might do a swap. What you thought was right for you out of that now isn't, but what you rejected is. Again, just an example which may or may not actually happen. Just trying to give you an idea here of that you have to do some work here yourself. And that's like, prudence doesn't just happen. You need to develop it. And you develop it by thinking, by analysing. And then you gradually come to learn that you don't accept everything that's presented to you. You put a few checks and balances in place, regardless of who's telling you. The same as somebody might be telling you something, you don't like that person. You really don't like them. Now, whether this is a spiritual thing or at a lower level, because remember, I have said before that when you are a truly spiritual person, there is no separation between your daily life activities and your daily life journey and your spiritual life. So we might be talking about something non-spiritual here, but you don't like this person, and yet they're telling you something, they're giving you some advice. That if you take that advice, it'll save you some grief further down the track. But you don't like them. So because you don't like them, you're not going to take their advice. I don't like this person, or usually what they say is rubbish. And so you'll just reject it out of hand because of that. That's not being prudent. A prudent person will listen and take the personality out of it. What has been said? Doesn't matter who has said it. What has been said? Now, if what has been said actually rings true to you, makes sense, feels like, oh, I can see that if I do this way, rather than the way I was going to, it really will be better for me. Well, the prudent person will put aside their feelings, their judgments about the messenger, and follow the message. Otherwise, if you don't, then you'll have a lesson because you will ignore it because of who delivered it. Find out what they said was right. You've fallen flat on your face. It's not very good. You have to pick yourself up and dust yourself off. Hopefully, you've learned the lesson then. Gain some prudence. Ooh, don't judge the message by the messenger. And yet, as I've said before, it's like I've just contradicted myself. There are times when judging the message by the messenger is the right thing to do. Ooh, how do we know what? Well, this is where intuition and discernment come in. Like I said, we have to work at this stuff. It's how we build our spiritual muscles, through our mind. Emotions are a big part of spirituality. How we feel, our compassion, our love, and the feeling, very important. However, we also have to have that mental power to balance those emotions. And in order to build that mental power, we have to look into things. Intuition, in a way, could be more emotional because you think, oh, that gut feeling. It's not. I wouldn't put intuition as an emotion. It's higher than an emotion, okay? But it's more to the feeling side than discernment. Discernment is really casting the light of your mind into something. So when you look at intuition and discernment, it is like using your emotional and your mental aspect together in balance. And there will be a time when I will be doing videos on both intuition and discernment. But as I've said before, it is extremely hard to look at these in isolation because they work together. And really, to help develop prudence, you're going to need to use your intuition and your discernment together because they're both going to be working. Both going to be working. So I'll leave it where it is now because this is something you need to think on more. I've kind of said some things, laid a bit of a foundation. But it's up to you to expand on it. As for all of the spiritual attributes, they're very personal. There's a whole lot of general that applies to everyone, and then we get to the parts that are personal for each individual in each lifetime. So there'll be certain meanings, certain applications of these spiritual attributes that are, I wouldn't say unique to you, because there will be others that probably experience them the same way or need to experience them and understand them the same way. But certainly it won't be as broad as the basic principles that virtually cover it. And then we get into the aspects that are personal for each person's life situation at that particular time. And it changes and grows as they change and grow, and changes and grows and develops through lifetimes. So I'll leave you with this for now, and thank you for listening to me.